Welcome, everyone. Good evening. My name is Mo, co-founder and CEO here at SkillHat. At SkillHat, our mission is to launch you into your dream tech career and place you in a strategic role in the world's best companies. In addition, our mission is also to launch you into leadership and technology. Today, we have a webinar on AI's impact on project management. And we're going to be talking to one of the smartest guys I know right now, Jerome, who's leading AI programs at one of my favorite companies, EA Sports, and my favorite games, FIFA, and other games that I love as well. So we'll talk about what he's doing. Our host today is Mitchell. Mitchell's one of our sales leads at SkillHat, who helps, is also a learning advisor specifically, who helps people who want to enroll in SkillHat programs and get into tech break in and through SkillHat programs. So shout out to everybody in here who is one of our alumni, one of our students. It's great to see a few familiar faces in here. Feel free to come on video if you want. Just ensure that you're on mute. And with that being said, I'll pass it on to our host today, Mitchell.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming in today. I'm super excited for the opportunity to interview Jerome, and Mo, thank you for the opportunity as well. Just like Mo, FIFA was one of my favorite games growing up. In fact, I don't want to say growing up because I and my wife had a word about that moving forward. But we're excited to do a deep dive on how that affects. I'm sure we're all here for. Some of you are aspiring project managers. Some of you are just looking for the opportunity to ask Jerome for intuitive questions, and we're going to get into that on a high level. Just trying to help everyone understand what the order of the day is. First off, I'm just going to be interviewing Jerome, asking him some questions. And if you do have questions that you want to ask him personally, just put it in the chat, and then we'll get to it in our question and answer segment as well. So feel free to be interactive. Let's make it as interactive as possible. When it's time to respond, put some response in the chat. Let's have a great time. But moving forward, the best way to take advantage of this webinar is to 100% be involved. So if you're in a position where you can turn on your camera, have notepad beside you, where you're able to write down valuable insights, because Jerome is going to be sharing a lot of knowledge, we encourage you to do so as well. So if we can have, I see Toby is on with his camera. You get more people to join on camera, so that way we can have a very, very interactive webinar today. That will be super, super awesome. Thank you, Mo, for the opportunity, and we're just gonna kick it. So, Jerome, the man of the hour, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, sounds good. So I'm just gonna give you the opportunity to do a quick introduction for those of you who know Jerome. I think some of the students are here as well, but some people who are not students here at SkillHat are also logged in. Can you just give a brief introduction to yourself and just your experience as a project manager?
Yeah, it's a good question. Shout out to some of my alumni, Toby, Yuri, Aisha. I'm glad to see y'all here. It's good. I love it. So background for me. So I'm a project manager. Obviously, I work at EA Sports. I've been a project manager for the better part of 12 years now. I started in tech at BlackBerry. I didn't start in a tech role at BlackBerry, but I started in the tech industry at BlackBerry in a more of a supply chain role. Networked, worked my way up, met a lot of people, worked hard, and kind of landed in a tech role, and then just worked my way up as a project manager, and now as a senior technical program manager. So yeah,
that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Jerome. I think we're going to do a deep dive into that as well, because sometimes we have students who are currently in either they're in manufacturing or they're not exactly in tech careers, but companies that have technical parts of what they do, right? You mentioned that you were in BlackBerry. Just give us a little bit of an idea of what Jerome was like before he got into tech, and how was he able to network himself into a project management role in tech?
Yeah, my story is probably very similar to a lot of your stories, or what they will be. I started as a supply chain specialist at BlackBerry. So I was doing a lot of like manufacturing behind the scenes admin work. I had the opportunity though in my role to do an implementation. So we implemented a system called SAP in our department, and I kind of raised my hand and led that implementation. I'd never done an implementation before, so I did a lot of learning on the job. I did a lot of learning as I went, but that was my first real foray into project management. So I was doing project management, but I wasn't an official project manager. And I was working on tech, but I wasn't in an official tech capacity. So that's kind of how I was able to leverage my experience being in a tech company, but not necessarily in a tech role, from supply chain into tech. And then I kind of parlayed that into a sales ops role, and then later into a project management tech role at BlackBerry. So it kind of worked out for me.
I think something that stood out to me is when you said when an opportunity arose, you're able to raise your hand. And that's been something that we've seen with a lot of our alumni is that they take our programs and they put on this solution hat. It's like, I'm ready to give my service. I'm ready to offer solution, starting with your existing company. So let's say you're working with a company that has a tech division and you're looking to make that transition, right? The first thing you want to do, like Jerome, is to raise your hand, right? And if you're with me on that, maybe you should raise your hand on the call. Like, we just all raise our hands on the call. If you're able to connect with that, just raise your hand, whether you're working as a you were working specifically with like a delivery specialist or more of working with inventory, I believe, right? At BlackBerry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
And you were just able to raise your hand. But even beyond that, how did you know that project management was the right fit for you?
I I actually didn't. It's a good question. I didn't know project management was the right fit for me, but I knew I kind of wanted to try something different, learn something new. And when I did raise my hand and try, I ended up really loving it. And that's why I've stuck with it for all these years. And I mean, like, you're not necessarily going to love everything that you do. I took supply chain management business in school. I ended up doing that as a career. And now I've pivoted, not unlike what a lot of you are trying or what are going to do. So I really encourage that. Like, life is not about just kind of staying in one box. It's about exploring new things, learning new things, and trying new things until you like something or love something.
I'm curious because a lot of people are in that journey where you were a few years ago, where you were intentionally pivoting to tech. What was that journey like? Were there some memorable moments for you? Any silver lining moments? It's like, I'm heading in the right direction. And also share with us, what's some of the difficult challenges that you face, and how are you able to navigate that moment where you are still in that journey of transitioning into a project management role in tech?
Yeah, let me start with your first question. I think, were there some memorable points in my journey? Yeah, for sure. I would say, and it resonated a lot with me. Mo, you posted today about networking specifically, and I think people think, yeah, I'm gonna network. No, like, I'm gonna double down on that. It is the most important thing. Networking is the most important thing. It's how I've gotten to where I've gotten in my career. So throughout my career, and I can go into a lot of different stories and a lot of different scenarios, but throughout my career, I have leveraged my relationships and networking in every single role that I've gotten. Every single one. Every single one. So from the time I worked at BlackBerry, there are people when I was 21 years old. And actually, I can tell you a story right now. I was 21 years old, right out of school, working at BlackBerry. There are people that I met at BlackBerry, people that I worked with at BlackBerry, and I'm working with them now at EA Sports. So that connection, those long lasting relationships that you make, you foster them, you grow them, you tap into them, right? When you need a job, or when I need a job, the first place that you should go is tap into your network. Your network is your most important resource for sure.
This is something that said, I don't know if there are other Nigerians here, but I'll give context to this saying. So, just for glossary's sake, Sokoto means a distant land. It's a place in northern Nigeria, and Shokoto means like your pants. Like, it's like a Nigerian word for pants. So it says what you're looking for in Sokoto, that distant land, that what you're looking for in a distant place. Like, if I just connect to this one person that would change my life forever, is in your Shokoto. It's right beside you, right? What you're looking for in, you know, where you think it's some stranger that's going to open the door for you. A lot of times it's people within your vicinity, right? So just being able to look at your network. Thank you for sharing that, Jerome. If quick one, if you could have your top two tips for networking for those who are maybe they're alumni, you've taken the program already, and what are the networking tips that you would give them?
Yeah, that's a good question. Networking tips. Okay, number one, I would say have a
Guys,
high,
make sure
yeah,
you're writing this down because the purpose for this is to give you a lot of value that you can implement tomorrow and be successful with. So go ahead, Jerome.
yeah. I would say number one, have a high say-do ratio. So if you say you're going to do one thing, make sure you do that one thing. If you say you're going to do five things, make sure you do all five of those things. Make sure you do them on time, right? Make sure you don't let anybody down with what you say you're going to do. Follow through. I would say that's number one.
Got
Um,
it.
Number two, don't be afraid to reach back out to people that you know with networking. There are people that I haven't talked to in 5, 10 years. And because of the lasting relationship that I feel that I made with them, I felt comfortable reaching back out to them. Like if I needed a job or if I was looking for something, I was comfortable reaching back out to them. And I think that's really, really important from a networking perspective. High say-do ratio and never be afraid to reach back out to somebody.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Thank you so much for sharing. Now I see a
Um,
lot of questions popping up in the chat, and uh we're going to deal with those questions. We're going to have a question and answer segment where you get the chance to ask Jerome questions one-on-one. And we're going to have a specific segment for that. So if we're not ignoring your questions, we're going to have time to go into them on a high level. Now, Jerome, I looked at your LinkedIn profile and I was like, this guy is living the life. You have worked at Hootsuite, you've worked at Amazon, and now you're currently working at uh, EA Sports. And I think there's a major difference between working at industries that have tech as part of what they do and working at industries where tech is what they do, right? So how have you been able to land multiple jobs at some of the most desirable companies in the world?
yeah, it's a good question. I would say earlier in my career, even before BlackBerry, when I was doing like internships or co-ops, I was in more like manufacturing jobs, and I was like, this is not really for me, right? It's very strict, rigid. I saw the freedom and I saw what could be offered to you from a tech perspective or working at a tech company. So it's always my dream to work at a tech company. I always wanted to get in there. And sorry, what was your question? I just wanted to tie that back.
So, like, how have you consistently worked at some of the most desirable companies, the
Oh,
most
yeah, yeah.
desirable companies in tech?
Yeah, I would say through that journey, I've never been afraid to kind of try new things or learn new things or, step outside of my comfort zone. Um, One thing I'm doing right now, like I'm teaching for Skill Hat, and I know a lot of the students at Skill Hat, they're stepping out of their comfort zones, right? They're changing industries, they're trying to change their job. Don't be afraid to do that. People will tell you not to do it, do it. Like you have to believe in yourself. You have to have the wherewithal for yourself to be able to transition into that. So I would say really have that fortitude and really have that belief in yourself that you can do better things. Like it's really part of the reason. It's one of the main reasons that I'm at Skill Hat. It's that I believe in what their mission is, what their values are, and what they're trying to do for people.
So, essentially, don't be afraid to try, right?
No, and
Um,
don't, and also don't be afraid to fail. I failed lots of times during my career. Don't be
Sometimes
afraid to
that
fail.
imposter syndrome of am I good enough to work at a big tech? Am I good enough to work at a Google? Am I good enough to work at, all these companies? But the big one is just having that mindset and not being afraid to try, right? All right. Sounds good. And the next thing though, the next question is, you know, a lot of people having in our network at Skill Hat have been asking questions about AI and the rise of AI. And there's a lot of, people who are predicting that AI will eradicate a lot of tech jobs in the next 10, 20 years. What's your thought on the impact on AI? I know that you do some work with AI in your role at EA Sports. What do you think the impact on AI would be on project management in the next
I think,
10, 20 years?
yeah, I think it's a really broad question. And I don't know, I think the way that I'll approach it is kind of twofold. Number one, I think AI will change the types of projects that project managers undertake, because at the end of the day, a project manager's job is to institute change. AI is disrupting most industries. And as a project manager, you're going to be at the forefront of that. So, number one, the types of projects that you're going to undertake are going to be largely AI based. And then number two, the way that you do your job, the tools that you use in your job will largely be AI based as well. So, I think the types of projects you work on and the tools that you use to work on those projects will be AI based. That's how I think it'll change.
Oh, bro, got it.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned that you've done some work in AI, especially EA Sports, but give us a bit of a deep dive of your day to day working as a senior project manager at EA Sports, especially with what you do with AI.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'm trying to like break it down in layman's terms here, but so EA Sports, video game company, right? They make some of the most popular games. One of those being FIFA, but now they call it FC. For those that didn't know, they call it FC.
Yeah.
So one of the programs that I'm working on today is to implement AI into those games that we love to personalize player experiences. So let's say you're in FIFA or FC as they call it now, and you're playing the game, you're into the game, but you suck at passing. You're just not good at passing. You're trying to pass the ball, you're not good. The type of technology that we're trying to implement, or the type of technology that we are implementing, is understanding and learning how a player behaves within the game and then offering prompts in that game. So saying, hey, you're not a great passer. Maybe try to press X and Y together. That will help your passing technique. Or why don't you buy these cleats in the store that will help you in your passing game as well? So really trying to, again, personalize the player experience using AI. So that's a direct way that I'm managing programs that affect in-game experiences. It's actually really, really cool to see player engagement go up, revenue go up, all from AI to make players more engaged with the particular game that they're playing. So it's super cool.
That's awesome. Off the record, Jerome, do you play FIFA or now EAFC by any chance?
It's actually such a good question. I used to play a lot of video games growing up. With getting so busy, I stopped playing video games like completely. And now, like getting back into EA, I'm starting to get back into video games. I need to know how to play video games. I need to know how to talk the talk to be able to do the job. So it's actually really funny that you ask. I don't
That's
need to
awesome.
be a video game expert to do what I do, but it's probably good practice to have probably a PS5 or an Xbox and then play the game. So yeah, I'm starting to get back into it.
That's pretty cool. Now, do we have any like EA FIFA players in the house? Just comment FIFA if you play. I know EA they do Madden as well.
Yeah, that's a really big
Madden
game. We
EA.
just launched college football. They do The Sims. There's lots of games. They do lots and lots of games. Yeah.
If you play Madden, if you play FIFA, I got Wisdom. Sebastian, he's an FC. Abiodun's commenting FIFA. Anybody else? Kwabena, FIFA with a strong army. Most maybe we need to host a skill hat FIFA tournament with
Never
a
FC. No. Stop hating, bro. Stop hating.
all right. Now I'm thinking about you have such a great background and wealth of knowledge, but thinking about the 80-20 rule, what would you say, you know, that what would you say is that 20% of things that you've done that have produced the 80% of value in your career, starting off as a project manager, and also right now what you continue to do at the level that you're at? Because to work at these
Mm,
big companies, I've looked at the ranges, right? A lot of these companies, when you're a senior project manager, senior program manager, it's upwards of 250, right? So Jerome, if you do want to flex, you can just give us a little snip of what you're reeling in on a yearly basis. But I've done my research. I know it's upwards of 250, 300, 350K that these sort of senior program management roles at top companies are. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, Jerome.
Yeah, they can range. I'll come back to that question, but to go back to your first question is how did I level up? I would say, again, going outside of my comfort zone. There was a gentleman, I don't know if he's still on the call. I saw him, Sebastian. So I took a coding program through Concordia University that just finished this past February. So people are probably wondering, well, why did you take a coding course? So I work directly with a lot of developers, so I wanted to upskill myself on how to be a developer. I figured if I'm going to be coaching them, if I'm going to be working with them every day, it's best to understand what their day-to-day is like, right? So I can have empathy for their work. I never want to be a coder, but I want to understand what their work life is like and what challenges they face, how I can help them as a project manager. So I took this course. Everybody told me I was crazy. Like, why are you taking this course? Like, you're already a project manager. You're already, and at that point in time, I was already at Amazon. And I was like, no, like I understand what I want to do and I understand where I want to go in my career. And I took the course, I graduated the course, and I've been able to level up my career significantly since. So it's again about betting on yourself and understanding what you need to be successful in your own role. And I will say, I won't get into detail, but I will say a project manager can make literally anywhere from 100K to 700K. And anyone in my class knows that my next role, I'm gunning to work at Netflix. So that's the next role that I want. And I know I'm going to get there. I just know I need to,
Amen.
That's it. I just know
Amen.
I need to, right?
Amen. I like that. I like that.
So, yeah.
I like that. 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 That's really awesome. Just betting on yourself. Just betting on yourself. So if you want to bet on yourself, I want you to put in the chat bet on it. Bet on it. Or if you have a role that you want to, you know how we have FIFA 2025, FIFA 2024, you can say I'm Netflix 2024, you know, Uber 2020, 2025. Just put a company that you want to work on and put a timeline on it as well. Really just betting on yourself.
That's it. Mo put a comment, put a question in the chat. He said,
yeah, Mo put a question. He says, what separates those who make 60K from those who make 300K in project management? So, you know, Mo, typically we make exceptions for questions at the end, but we have questions at the end. But
no, you don't have to make exceptions for me. I was just asking part of the audience, but up to you to ask whenever you want.
No, I think it's a good question
for
this. Yeah, I think it's a good question for the audience to understand, and I think it's an easy answer too. I think as an entry-level project manager, yeah, you'll probably make around 60K. And as you gain more experience, as you take on bigger projects with bigger budgets, more scope, more timeline, more strategic value to your company, your pay will increase twofold, threefold, fourfold with that as well. So you'll see as you start to get experience and as you start to take on more projects with higher scope, higher budget, all of that, your pay will also go up. Another way is to jump jobs. So typically when you leave a company and go to a new company, they will offer you significantly more money. Leaving Amazon, leaving Amazon was literally the hardest decision I've ever made in my career. I'm sure it's not going to be the last hardest decision I'll ever make in my career, but it was the hardest up until this point to make in my career. And the reason was because I had worked tirelessly to make that goal like a reality for me. I wanted to get into Amazon and I just wanted to stay at Amazon. I was like, man, if I get in here, I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to stay put the rest of my career, right? And I'm at Amazon, I'm doing my thing. Year 2 is like on the approach. I'm doing well. Amazon's a tough culture to be in too, by the way. Very, very tough culture to be in. So if you can make it at Amazon, you can make it at any company. But year 2 was approaching and I got a call from EA Sports out of nowhere. Literally, I got a LinkedIn message out of the blue They were like, "Hey, Jerome, we love your profile. We want to sit down and chat about a role." And I was like, whatever. But what I will tell you is that I never turned down a conversation. So any company can reach out to me. I'll never turn down a conversation. I'll always hear you out. I'll always hear what you have to say. I'll always explore it just from an initial standpoint. So when they told me about the role, like what I would be doing, working on AI, working on very technical programs, the pay, the benefits, the perks, like it was far better than Amazon. So you would think that Amazon sets the bar, EA sets the bar. They set the bar in terms of culture, what they offer their employees. It's a surreal experience so far. You would never think that, but it's literally a surreal experience.
I'm just wondering what the interviewing process is like for places like Amazon, EA Sports. If you could break down what the interviewing process was like for them, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I want to go into an example. It's a really great question. So it's a really rigorous process. When you work at a tech company, typically the interview process is really rigorous because when they bring you in, they're looking for the best and they want you to be there for a significant amount of time. So they really want to vet you. I think at Amazon, I went through 8 interviews, and the last interview is a loop interview, what they call a loop interview. And most tech companies do a loop interview. It's where you interview for an entire day. So back before COVID days, Amazon for the last interview would fly you out to Seattle because that's where Amazon's headquarters are, and you would perform a full day of interviews. You'd have a lunch break, and you would just interview with like 7, 8 people, and then you would fly home. Because I interviewed during COVID, I did my loop interview over Zoom, which was wild. And then so I interviewed with I think it was 6 people over the entire day. It's exhausting. It's hard. And then they kind of let you know within the week whether or not you got the job. But that's the last step in the process. Also in that process, I had to do a project management assessment, and I also had to do a writing test. Amazon is a really big writing culture, so they want to make sure that you're a really competent writer. So it was, they really put me through the ringer, to be honest. And EA was actually very similar. Even though they reached out to me, I still think I went through about 5 interviews with EA.
Even though they reached out to you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of our students right now are getting interviews currently. What would be maybe your top 3 tips for them in preparing for interviews? I know this is not specifically for interviews, but since we're already on that wavelength, right? Just share with us some of the, your interview practices has helped you land jobs in places like EA Sports, Amazon, Hootsuite. Can you share with us some of your interviewing tips or interviewing culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. I submerge myself in the interview process. I think it's the most important thing. If you have an interview coming up, like forget your weekend plans, focus on the interview because it could change everything. Let me give you an example. An example from today. I talked with a Skill Hat alumni or kind of alumni. She just finished a cohort. She's getting ready to write her final Skill Hat exam, and she's calling me. We're talking about her prepping for her final exam. So I'm giving her tips. We're going through it. And she tells me, "Hey, by the way, Jerome, I have an interview on Monday." And I go, "What do you mean you have an interview on Monday?" She's like, "Yeah, I've got an interview for a project manager role on Monday." And I was like, "So then why are we talking about your Skill Hat exam?" While that's important, your focus, your number one focus should be your should be your interview. Like reach out to a career coach at Skill Hat, get interview tips, get interview prep, get ready to perform in that interview. That should be your number one focus. And I'm like, literally cancel your weekend plans and get to it. And she literally booked her career coaching session right after that call. And I have no doubt she's going to get the job. I have no doubt.
Right.
So
Sounds good.
yeah.
Sounds
So I
good.
think it's really just about like immersing yourself in that. Just make that your number one priority.
All right. Not being casual about it, be as like
Yeah.
prioritize it, making sure that you check all the boxes, cross all the T's, and dot all the I's.
Because at the end of the day, right? Why are we doing this? We're doing this to get a job, right? And I'm not saying that the Skill Hat exam wasn't important, but she took the Skill Hat program to get a high-paying project manager job. She has one waiting at her doorstep. That's the goal. That's the dream. Live out your dream and then go write the exam, right?
That's awesome.
Prioritize. That's it.
That's awesome. Now we're gonna circle back to AI because a lot of AI questions are coming in and people are asking. Now, Jerome, you're an instructor here at Skill Hat, and I'm sure you've had the opportunity to teach a lot of amazing students. Sometimes what I've found, correct me if I'm wrong, is people who are in industries usually take a while to leverage on technology because they're comfortable with the way things are. Sometimes you go to organizations, they still use mainframe to do things. But for people who are young are trying to break in outside of ChatGPT, what are some of those AI tools that they can invest in learning that would help set them apart or help increase their value to the eye in the eyes of a hiring manager?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a ton of tools. Aside to ChatGPT, I don't know. There's AI note takers for like meetings. I know companies like Sybil or Fathom. Researching data or even kind of getting information on competitors. You can use tools like Perplexity. It's a good AI tool. Crafting PowerPoint slides and slide decks, really engaging ones. You can use a tool called Gamma. There's so many different AI tools for different use cases. But I think the main point, and you didn't really ask this in the question, but I would say research them, immerse yourself in them, like try to learn them. They're not difficult. I think the word AI really intimidates people. They don't want to delve into it because they think it's too technical or they think it's too hard or they honestly, there's probably half the people or even more on this call have probably never used ChatGPT. It is literally the easiest piece of software to use. And the only way to start using it is to start using it. You'll probably suck when you first start using it, but then you'll start understanding what prompts to give it and how to leverage it. And then you'll get better. And then you'll get better. And then you'll be like, man, this is really changing the way I approach work. This is changing my workflow. This is making things easier for me. So my advice is just to keep trying. Just dive into it.
Okay, got it. Fantastic, by the way, Jerome. And just hearing you speaking and you betting on yourself, how far that has got you. I can imagine how it's a lot of value for people who are on this call listening. But if you could give, I'm sure you speak with your students a lot, and if you could give them one critical advice, people who are working hard right now, and their goal is to become a project manager like yourself, right? For those who have started the journey, if you could give them one advice, just one, right? What would it be to someone who's currently enrolled in the program, starting the journey as a project manager? What would that advice be to them?
Easy. Leverage your current situation, right? You're working at a hospital, you're working at a bank, you're working, right? Level up your skill, right? So you understand what project management is, for instance, if that's what you want to get into, and then leverage where you're at. Then you raise your hand. Most companies are looking for that. And if you already work at the company, they already know your work ethic. They already know what you can bring to the table. And then when you're like, hey, I also have a project management diploma, or I've gained some new skills in project management. Okay, cool. We'll give you an opportunity. So leverage your current situation. That's my best advice. Right? If you can do that, I guarantee you'll have a 90% success rate. 90% success rate. If you have the skills and you actually raise your hand, you will be successful.
All right. So leverage where you are currently. Jerome, thank you so much for sharing. Now, the next segment is we're going to get into the questions from the audience. And wow, there's a lot of good questions on here. One second.
All right, so feel free to put your questions in the chat or raise your hand and ask a question. Mitchell, I sent you a note. I put together the questions in the chat already, so you can click that and you can ask any question that an audience member had previously asked.
All right, sounds good. 1 second. So like Mo said, feel free to put some questions in the chat if you have.
All right, I see some hands up actually. Let's go with Jeff. Jeff has the same last name as Jerome. Oh shit! Jerome's clone.
I'm
I noticed that. I went to check him out already.
I'm Jerome's better looking twin brother. I'm Jeff. How's everyone doing?
Oh my god, he looks so much alike. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
I'm not in project management. I'm actually in supply chain, and I've just moved over to an account management role. But I know what Jerome's doing with Skill Hat. Mo, hats off to you. I've heard a lot of great things, and the network that you built is fantastic. So really great job there. I did have a question for Jerome, and also I
You're
wanted
gonna
to
hit me off guard, eh?
yeah. And I also had a thing to add to the networking advice. I think a big thing that Jerome forgot to say was keeping the same energy with everyone. So I remember I also worked at BlackBerry back in the day with Jerome, and treating the guy at the warehouse the same as you would treat your manager is extremely important. You know why? Because that guy who's working in the warehouse could someday become your manager, or you're asking that person for a job. So if you keep the same energy with that person, it'll always come for a full circle. Full circle. So always keep the same energy with everyone, right? So be kind and be nice to everyone you work with, no matter what their level is. And then my
This is
question
the
for you,
good twin.
yeah, you got it. You got it. And then my question for you, Jerome, is from a project management perspective, I know there is learning the skills. So, right, like you have like waterfall and agile and learning all the various elements of project management. And then there's the personality piece, right? And I know a big part of being a successful project manager is corralling stakeholders and getting people on board when they're not on board, or right, dealing with difficult people, people who don't believe in what you're doing, right? So I would say to you, what do you think the most, or what do you think is a more important element of project management? Is it the personality side, or is it the actual like book smart and um, uh, like knowledge from actual reading material that you think is important?
By the way, I had no idea Jeff was coming to this. Like, this is not planned in any way, shape, or form. And he's really throwing me off guard with this question. It's a great question. So the way that I'll answer this question is by saying this. I don't think either are more important than one another. I think they're equally important. I think it's really important so I think it's like a 50-50 split. Like, you need to have the knowledge, but you also need to be able to work with people. So you might look at a job description, and I've talked about this at length with my class, right? You might look at a job description and be really intimidated by all the things that they want and all the technical jargon, right? And then be caught off guard and almost be discouraged. Like, they don't want to apply to that job. No. At the end of the day, project management is about working with people, okay? So do not be intimidated if you can work with people and you can show empathy, exactly what Jeff said, right? Showing that same energy. I literally live that every day. I live the energy talk day to day. It's so important to me to treat people with respect, to treat people with kindness, because you'll get it twofold. Ask anyone in my Skill Hat class. Hey, Jerome, do you have a second? Of course I have a second, because I actually care. I don't just do this, I actually live it. I actually care. So I think it's really important to both have the knowledge and have the people skills to be able to thrive as a project manager specifically.
That's amazing.
Thanks for your question, though.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that. I call it the Ted Lasso effect. For those of you who've never seen the show Ted Lasso, he's a football coach over in the UK, and the show is awesome because no one actually hates him because of how nice and how he treats people. Everyone loves him, right? So if you have that personality, you're able to speak to people in a way that they like you no matter what, even if they don't want to like you, it's having that Ted Lasso effect that'll make you successful in the role.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Jeff, great to see you in real life. I think I saw you on LinkedIn and I heard about you, but it's kind of everyone's like, is this God's AI clone? Pretty trippy, but good to see your twin brother. Mitchell, I'm
Yeah,
gonna pass it to another person who has his hand up, which is Amit. Amit, you can go
We
ahead.
have some questions that are written down. Let's just get into that first,
Okay, sure.
then we'll go into
Go
that.
ahead.
I know the questions already been answered. Someone asked, is project management a good field for job stacking? So is project management a good field for job stacking? How would you answer that, Jerome?
What is job stacking?
Whoa. Job stacking is when you have multiple jobs at the same time.
I would like multiple full-time jobs at the same time.
Multiple full-time jobs at the same time.
I would discourage job stacking. Moonlighting, no, I don't think that's a good idea. You're going to be a busy project manager. My days are very, very busy. From sun up to sundown. Like Mo, Mo and I trying to connect. Mo runs a business. I'm a really busy project manager. Us trying to connect is like, two thieves in the night. Like we're just trying to. It doesn't work. So having two full-time jobs, I would never
And I can
recommend to
speak to that a
anybody.
little bit because that's an ongoing trend we're seeing in the tech space with remote work, people who have multiple tech contracts. We're seeing a lot of people do that. It's working really well for people on the BA side, so business analysts who have multiple jobs. And one of the tips that people who do that do to be successful, and just why is it a thing? Well, you can make a lot of money. That's the short answer. So we have BAs from our Skill Hat program who are getting $80 an hour from one contract, 75 an hour from another contract. That's 300K a year when you add that up for both contracts. It's very lucrative, but it's a lot of work. It's crazy. The first thing is ensure that your contract with the company potentially allows it. That's the first thing. Second thing is have different time zones, right? So maybe one is like Eastern time where the company closes at 4, and the next one is Pacific time in Vancouver and LA, they close at 8 your local time. That's my first tip. It works on the BA side as a developer, as a designer, but as a project manager, I'm going to say what Jerome says. It is really hard because as a project manager, you're responsible for success. You're leading teams, you're directing, you're owning vision, right? But as a BA or a developer, you're just showing up to get requirements and showing up to, hey, I built this. You're working independently. So personally, as well as a project manager, I'm going to say it'd be really hard. So if you want to work like 12, 18 hours a day, go ahead and do it as long as you have a contract to back it up. But as a BM and designer, developer, it's a little bit easier. I know it's a trend happening right now, so that's my advice for you if you want to go ahead and do it.
All right. Thank you so much, Mo and Jerome, for sharing your piece on that. Amit has his hand raised up. Amit, what's your question?
Hey, Jerome. Hey, everyone. I'm curious, Jerome. I know that you mentioned that you were at Amazon and now at EA in the AI space. I'm curious in terms of application of AI in project management. What has been your favorite use case that you've noticed that AI has been applied to project management in both these organizations?
Do you mean in the initiatives they're doing within the company, or do you mean my workflow as a project manager?
Holistically, either is okay.
I would probably do both because I was going to ask the same exact questions. What are some use cases you've seen from an initiatives perspective? And then what are some use cases from your role as well? We can kind of do both. That's a great question.
Yeah, I would say you're very crisp in your communication using AI. So let me go back to Amazon. Remember, I was talking about how Amazon's a very, very rich writing culture. So let me explain what that means. So any company that I've ever worked at, I don't know if anybody worked in tech, but if you've worked in tech, you understand that you're going to be building multiple PowerPoint decks every day. Like that's the number one thing that you do. Jerome, go build a deck. Go build a deck. You're selling. You're building a deck. At Amazon for 2 years, I never built a PowerPoint deck. Their culture does not allow for PowerPoint decks in any way, shape, or form. So the way that they get around that is by writing. You write a document, a professional document, and you bring it to every single meeting. So every meeting that you attend at Amazon, the first 20 minutes of that meeting, you sit in silence. So everybody just goes on mute and reads an entire document, and then they come back for the remaining 40 minutes and they discuss the document. So you can imagine you have executives on that call, you have senior managers. Your document better be crisp, it better be clear, it better be concise. So for every document that I wrote at Amazon, I would run it through ChatGPT or some kind of AI tool to get it more crisp, change language, shorten it, lengthen it, add more descriptive, adjectives, whatever. But I would always use ChatGPT or some other AI tool to crispen my language and my writing skills. So that's number one. Like, it was my number one tool, I would say, in my project management domain at Amazon. From a working perspective, I would say, yeah, like everything is about AI now. Every company, so think about what a company's mandate is, right? The company's mandate is to make money, to make shareholder money. To make shareholder money, company has to make money. And typically, to make money, you can either sell more product or you can streamline your operations internally. And by streamline your operations internally, it means you can cut staff, or you can make processes easier, you can make processes less expensive. So a lot of companies are leveraging AI to be able to optimize their internal processes. So again, you as a project manager, who are they going to tap on to lead those initiatives? They're going to tap on a project manager. So although it's AI, it's still leveraging project management to be able to usher in that change. So those are the two most things that I would say are prevalent from an AI perspective, both in what companies are doing and my use case for AI in project management.
Thanks, Jerome.
No problem.
And we have Derek here typed a question. He said, as someone entering the project management field, how important is prior industry experience when deciding which industry to focus on? What are effective ways to gain experience in the tech industry as a project manager?
So as someone, I'm just reading, sorry. So focus on I would focus potentially on what you're already in, if you're okay with that, or focus on what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about an industry, go towards that industry. That's what I would say. I'm more so passionate about the work, not necessarily the industry, if that makes sense. I could do project manager for a cardboard box. I don't care. But it's the type of work that I'm doing that inspires me. Like, I could care less that I work for a video game company. Doesn't matter. What types of projects do you have me doing for that video game company? Right? I could be doing large scale implementations that require a ton of tech and a ton of smart people at the cardboard box company. And that would intrigue me a lot more than working on simple projects for a video game company. So again, it just depends on your particular use case.
Awesome. We have another question here. Is the PMP certification a prerequisite for getting a project management job? And,
No.
and specifically, can you get a project management job if you don't have a PMP?
Yeah, you can. So I would say most project managers don't have their PMP. A lot of the project managers I work with today don't have their PMPs. Remember how I talked about a particular gentleman that I worked with at BlackBerry, I think, 15 years ago, and I work with him now at EA Sports. He doesn't have his PMP, but he's one of the best project managers that I know, one of the best project managers I've ever worked with.
And thank you so much for sharing that, Jerome. We have another question here. And if you have questions, keep them coming. We do have a segment allocated for it. So don't feel shy to raise your hand. How do I get around confidentiality on using AI tools where the company doesn't allow you to use ChatGPT and AI tools? This is interesting.
Can you read the question one more time so that we get it?
Says, how do I get around confidentiality on using AI tools where the company doesn't allow you to use ChatGPT and AI tools?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would be really careful about that. But what I would do is reach out to, if you have a compliance or like a governance department, see if there's an alternative tool that you can use in-house, or see if they have a suggestion for what you can do and you want to leverage like a chat GPT type AI tool. That's how I would approach it. I wouldn't just go ahead and use it because you could get in trouble, potentially lose your job. So I'd be very careful about how you navigate that.
Good. Then we had Natasha asking, what are some common pitfalls that new project managers should be aware of?
I would say scope creep. So like taking on too much too soon. So be careful as a project manager, especially a good project manager. It's like, oh wow, Jerome's doing good. Let's give him another project. Oh wow, so-and-so here is that Jerome's killing it. They also want him to do a project. And then I take that on, and then I just start compiling all these projects where I'm working late nights and I'm just overdoing it. So be careful of that. Make sure you're protecting your time, protecting your energy, and just making sure that you're not taking on too much too soon.
Right. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Jerome, for sharing some of those insights with us. We have 2 more questions coming, and then we're going to transition to the next part of the webinar. What makes a good project manager? I'm sure a million things make a good project manager, but what would you say the top 3 things that make a good project manager, Jerome?
The top 3 things. Being good with people is the top thing. I'm going to come back to my the say-do ratio. So whatever you say, make sure you do it. If you tell someone you're going to send out a report on Friday at 5 p.m., make sure hell and high water you send out that report on Friday at 5 p.m. Okay. And then number 3, I would say always be willing to upskill and learn new things, right? Whether that's AI, whether that's jumping into a new program like SkillHat or coding or whatever it is, be willing and ready to change. So think about, again, all of these companies are about change. They're all ushering in this new AI wave. That's all change. If you're not with that, if you're not down for that, you're not going to thrive in the tech industry. The only constant in the tech industry is change. So be prepared and be willing to embrace it and accept that.
Okay, thank you so much, Jerome. I know Sebastian has his hand open. Well, the questions are coming in. So we'll take 3 more questions and then we'll call it, we'll have to round up the session. We have a question. How do you see AI transforming the role of project managers in terms of decision-making, risk management, and what are the key challenges we need to address to fully integrate AI into our project management processes?
Well, that was a mouthful. So the way I think AI is going to shift project management, I think it's going to shift project management from being more tactical to more strategic. And what I mean by that is instead of crafting meeting minutes and writing notes, it's going to be more about driving decisions, getting cross-functional alignment, getting people to make good, informed decisions at a high level for your project or a program. So I think it's going to be less about the tactical and more about the strategic, because the tactical is going to be done through AI or through some other tool. So they're going to use project management to focus on more strategic activities. That's my opinion.
Awesome. So in the interest of time, we'll be answering questions that have been answered in the past, but what we'll do is that we'll make the recordings available after this so you can go back and listen to the questions being answered. Sebastian, you had your hands up. Yeah, did you have a question, Sebastian?
Yes, I was gonna ask by the way, hi Jerome.
How's it going? So Seb is the guy that I did a coding course with. So I'm glad to see you here, man. I'm glad to see you here.
Yes, I was gonna ask you, how were you able to switch from project manager to product manager?
So I'm not in product management, I'm in program management. So how was I able to switch from project to program? It's a good question. I think that's what you're asking. Yeah. I think it goes back to an earlier question. So I think I definitely started with smaller projects, smaller scope, smaller budget, smaller strategic importance to the company. And then as I kept working up, I kept taking on more eventually. And then as I job switched or moved up the ladder within companies, they gave me more responsibility. And then once you start moving to managing multiple projects, you start getting into what's called program management. So program is literally 2 projects that have similar goals, where you're just managing kind of the work separately. So it's just time and experience, I would say, to move from project management to program management. But what I will say though, is that there's a really clear path for project management. a lot of careers are like stuck. You'll go into this industry, you'll go into this career, and you're like, okay, well, what next? There's like a really defined career path with project management. You could be a junior project manager, a senior project manager. You can be a junior program manager, a senior program manager, director of program management, VP. It just keeps going up, right? And you have the opportunity within that as well to manage people. So you can either manage projects and or manage people as well. So there's a lot of opportunity in that. And sorry, I really rambled, but I wanted to give you the full scope there.
That was good because somebody else asked the same question of career progression. So I think you answered. I think that was Fumi's question.
Okay, awesome.
And we're going to take our last question is by Ade Dial. With a banking background in mainstream banking, just dealing with assets, liabilities, how possible is it to transition to project management in the developed world, especially if your experiences in banking are gained in a third world country?
It's a great question. I would say most of the Skill Hat alumni are transitioning into project management banking roles in some way, shape, or form. I would say it's like the most prevalent industry to move into project management. Banking is a very regulated industry, especially in North America, and they very much so need project management. So it's a great industry to kind of transition into if it's something that you already have experience in. I'm sure the nuances are maybe different in your country, but the principles are probably very similar, and you can apply those same principles to North America. So I think it's a great opportunity for you.
So short answer, join Skill Hat.
Yeah, do it, man. I'm teaching there for a reason. Like I literally don't have a lot of time. I really don't. And Skill Hat is a real passion of mine. Like you can ask Jeff. I talk about it all the time. I'm very passionate about what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how they're bringing people up. So remember how we talked about treating everybody with the same energy? That's what I believe Skill Hat does, right? Treats everybody with the same energy and tries to lift people up. So
sounds good.
That's what I'm about.
This will conclude our question and answer segment. Thank you so much.
Are you going to become a project manager now?
You skip my question, though.
I don't know if I'm going to become a project manager, but we'll talk about that offline.
Mitchell, you skipped my question.
We'll come back. Mitchell has another section, and we'll come back.
I have another section though. So what we'll do is we'll just document some of the questions and then maybe send it off to Jerome, and then we'll see how we can get in touch with you to answer the question. We can be here for like another half an hour, just asking questions for sure. But before we move on to the next segment, I want to know how many people are just joining us for the first time. Maybe you're not if you're an alumni, why don't you put alumni in the chat? If you're a student, why don't you put student in the chat? But if it's your first time just engaging with Skill Hat, I want you to just write first time in the chat. I want to get a sense of how many people are joining us for the first time. We have Amit, it's the first time. But Benner is a student. All right. Can you see some of your students here, Jerome? We have Nicole.
Well, not in the chat because I know they've dealt with Skill Hat. They know alumni.
Nice.
You see,
Fumiojo alumni and student. All right. Well, for those who are with us for the first time, I want to say thank you for joining in. And Afe Amori, thank you so much for joining in. If this is your first time,
thank you for having me.
If you're a student, big ups to you. And if you're an alumni, keep crushing it. These next few segments, I'm just going to share with you what we do here at Skill Hat so you get a sense of who we are and how we've helped over 1,000 people in the last 2 years get into the careers of their dreams, right? My name is Mitchell, and I am one of the learning advisors here at Skill Hat. And we'll also get the chance for you to ask questions regarding Skill Hat, what we do. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. Now, we have a lot of success stories at Skill Hat. I don't know if you're familiar with Sade. She used to earn about $30,000 a year, and now she earns that in a month as a result of the education and the skills that she learned in our program. We have someone like Biola, who used to be an Uber driver, right? So if there's someone here on this call and you're thinking, I'm an Uber driver. What's the potential? Is it possible for me to transition into a fulfilling career in tech? The answer is yes, right? We've helped people just like you in the past. We've helped people like Amit and so on and so forth get into jobs in places like TD Bank, Amazon, Workday, Loblaw, Spotify, and so on and so forth. Now, some people are like, hey, they're just open to working at the job that gives you the next opportunity. But some people like Jerome have specific jobs that they want to work for. So is there a dream company that you want to work for? I just want you to put that in the chat. For some of you, it might be Amazon. Some of you might be Spotify, City of Toronto. Is there a dream job that you want to work for, a dream company that you want to work for? I want to see some of that in the chat. Sebastian's like, I want to work at EA Sports now. Maureen wants to work at Skill Hat more. We gotta hire
Lots of
Maureen.
people. Yeah, there's so much opportunity. Maybe we should do another segment about that. But
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We had Johnson and Johnson, Meditech, Deloitte. Awesome. 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 Sounds good. Now, this is how you get there. Right. When you're breaking into the market, there are two types of solutions. One is what we call a half-baked solution, and I think it's called a full-fledged solution. Right. So if you've had a conversation with me in the past, I'll probably share with you how I'm on this journey of trying to be fit, and the Lord is with me through it all. But I started in January, and after 3 months, I noticed that I hadn't made a lot of progress. Right. I got a fitness trainer, and he comes and he really just gives me the most intense workout consistently week by week. And after doing that for 3 months, I didn't notice a lot of change. So I asked him, hey, what's going on? Why am I not noticing a lot of change even after 3 months? And he said, well, I control what you do in the gym, but I don't control what you do in the kitchen. Meaning a full-fledged solution is a solution that takes into account everything you need to be successful. So in the area of working out, it's eating right and working out properly. But in breaking into tech, there are 4 gaps that you need to solve to be able to break into a high fulfilling role as a project manager or scrum master. The first one is to learn the skill, have hands-on experience, know how to market yourself, and then lastly, a network, right? Sometimes we call them we probably call them 4 gaps, but I like to think about them as combinations. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 will land you a high paying job. And I'll go through each of them individually. You need to learn the skill set, the soft skills, the tools, the methodologies, the mindset. If right now we gave you the opportunity to execute a project management role, how effective would you be able to do so? That's a function of skill. You following so far? The next part is cross-functional hands-on experience. Now, maybe alumni might be more acquainted with this saying, but imagine if you had a leaking sink in your home and 2 plumbers come to meet you. One plumber says, hey, I promise you, I read a book on plumbing. I have the skill. I've watched a YouTube video. I can fix your sink. And then you have another plumber that says, hey, I fixed 3 sinks last week. Who would you be more comfortable giving the job to? Just put it in the chat. There's always that one person that says, hey, I want to give it to the guy who's never fixed the sink before. Let's put in the chat the experienced plumber, the guy who did it, most experienced, exactly. And that's how your hiring managers think. You'll always leverage it. They'll always prefer experience over no experience. So having that cross-functional, hands-on experience is key. Someone said my uncle. Ruby, we might need to have a chat later. But having that hands-on experience is key to landing the job, to landing your dream job. But you can have the skill, you can have the experience, but you don't know how to market yourself. And it's going to be challenging for you, right? And one thing I tell people about marketability, when I talk with some of our students, is in marketability, you have to learn how to wear heels, put on makeup, and wear a wig. You have to learn how to look just a little bit nicer than you actually are, right? You have to put your best self forward, and that's a skill, right? That's a skill. So the ability to put your best self forward is a skill, and that's something a lot of people, don't know. So having that marketability segment is so important. Mo, do you want to say something?
No, I just thought your example was hilarious, but I love it. You're right. It's like
Yeah,
you're going
so
on your first date, you're not gonna wear slippers and like sweatpants and the tank top, right? You're gonna put your best foot forward. Even when the guy marries you, that's how you're gonna be dressing every single day. But you get the
exactly.
point.
Exactly. And that's the thing, marketability. And it's a skill, right? How you able to story tell your experience so it matches the expectation of your future employer. That's marketability. And the last one is having a network that can recommend you to opportunities, right? That can refer you to emerging roles, but also can encourage you throughout the journey, because getting a job or switching to a role in tech, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Right? It's not something that happens today and it's gone tomorrow. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So having a community behind your back saying, "Hey, keep doing what you're doing, Sebastian. Keep working hard, Ayan. Keep putting in the effort. Keep killing it, Ruby." Encouraging you throughout every step of the journey is so key to landing the role. So I want you to sit back and think to yourself. Imagine you had the skill of a project manager at a high level. And then you had cross-functional hands-on experience. You've worked with developers, designers, you've built out a project that is verifiable on your portfolio, and you knew how to market yourself. And lastly, you had a network. Imagine these four things were in place. Would it be crazy to say if you had these four things, it will be almost impossible for you not to be able to land a job? I want you to think, if you think it's possible for you to land a job with these four things, if it's very possible for you to land a job with these four things in place, I want you to put in the chat four gap. That's our four gap method. If you believe it's possible, just write in the chat four gaps. If you think if you go through the skill, the hands-on experience, marketability, and network, it's very possible for you to land a job. We have people writing four gaps. Brandy, Precious, oh, Serena. All right. Now, this is how we solve for the gaps here at Skill Hat. Number one is our Agile Project Management course. It's an 11-week program, and it happens every Saturday at 1 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern, and on Wednesday, every Saturday, I just need to change, every Saturday at 12 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern, so that's an error, just change that. And on Wednesdays between 6 to 8:30 Eastern. And in that course, you're going to learn things like the fundamentals of project management. You're going to learn project management methodologies like waterfall, agile methodologies. You also learn soft skills for project leadership, and you also learn how to pass the PMP exam. You get to use tools like Jira, Smartsheets, and Confluence, and these are tools that are used in the industry today. I think I need some water. But the true beauty about our project management course is our instructors. Just imagine learning under the tutelage of someone like Jerome. And every time you come to class, he's not just sharing with you insights on how to break into the industry, but also how to thrive and have a fulfilling career. So we have 3 amazing instructors for the project management course. And the beauty about our program is just how amazing our instructors are, how they're able to break down complex concepts into digestible formats. And maybe we want to hear from some of our current students. What's their experience with the class so far? Is there anybody here that is a current student that wants to speak to their experience in the class so far? If you want, just raise your hand. They're currently taking the project management class with us that would love to share on their experience so far. I feel like Ruby's living in. She wants to say something. Ruby, tell us, what's your experience so far?
I'm shy. It has been amazing. The teachers are extremely knowledgeable. They really take their time with each student, and I feel like it's so customized, because it really does fit into even the busiest of schedules, because I cannot express how much I really do work in the hospital and I'm busy and I can't get to these things. But it's really been practical. I've been able to implement it into my schedule easily. And when I can't, they've been so understanding. I just send them a message and they're like, get the work in when you can. It's fine. Keep us updated. So I've had a great experience. The students have been amazing, very positive energy, great learning atmosphere. It's been a great experience.
All right. Thank you so much, Ruby, for sharing your experience. So that's it. If you're looking at breaking to a project management space, if you're looking to be a project manager with the next 6 to 12 months, then this is the right place to be. The next thing, though, is the hands-on experience. We have something called the Tech Career Accelerator. That's a 9-week training where we'll put you in a cross-functional team of developers, designers, business analysts, product managers, and you be the project manager for the team. And your job as a team is to decide on a tech idea or a SaaS idea, and potentially with AI capacity, and build it from ideation all the way to a launch. So for clarity, this is not you're giving us a pitch of something. This is an actual verifiable project that you're building. And that's the Tech Career Accelerator. So it does 3 things for you. Number 1, it increases your conviction, because it's one thing to say what you know, but it's a whole different thing to say what you've done. So that level of conviction is through the roof. Number 2, it increases the amount of interviews that you get, because you have verifiable proof that you've worked as a project manager. And lastly, once you get the job, it's a smooth, seamless transition, because you already have that experience. All right. Now, the next part is the 6-figure navigator. It's a one-on-one career coaching. And this is very important when we talk about marketability. Like we say, wear heels, put on makeup, and put on a wig. And we're going to give you a one-on-one coach who will be training you on how to put your best self forward whenever you get the chance to meet with a hiring manager. We help you with optimizing your resume, optimizing your LinkedIn profile, and it will also help you with for those who are already working in industries like, I don't know how to talk to my boss, I'm not sure what to say, how do I raise my hand, like Jerome mentioned, to be able to even volunteer in opportunities that are in your current organization. We'll help you with that as well. And then we'll give you a job application strategy that leverages on your strengths, either it's industry, background. We give you a job application strategy that works. Most people, when they look for jobs, they do something I call pray and spray. Who's ever heard about pray and spray before? Pray and spray is when you spray your interview to every Dick and Harry and hoping that one of them sticks, but there's no underlying job application strategy. And last but not the least, we'll also help you role play that interview process, so that when you finally get to sit down with a hiring manager, it's not your first rodeo. You know what they're expecting. It's almost like you're going to an exam that you've done before. So we role play that first interview with you and role play that second interview with you, so you're able to leave a strong impression. So if you want to make 6 figures, just put in the chat 6 figures, and that's our 6-figure navigator. Awesome. All right. The next part is our recruiter and employer connections. You get access to our mentors, just like Jerome. You get access to our exclusive events, our hiring managers, our alumni. When opportunities coming within the community, we'll make that available to you. And you get access to me as well, Mo. So if you just need an encouraging voice, it's like, hey man, I've been applying. I just need a voice, someone to lift my day. We're more than happy to help, right? We're a community and we want to help each other as much as we can. When jobs coming through our community, we'll make that available to you as well. So you can skip the whole HR line and get the chance to speak with a hiring manager as quickly as possible. If you're applying for a job and they need a recommendation, we'll get senior project managers to recommend you as well from our community. So we're here for you every step of the way. And last but not the least, job success. So when you get a job, that's not the end of our relationship. We'll work with you for the first 30 days, support you with templates, with tools and check-ins, so that you're able not only to get a job, but also have a thriving experience within your new job. Sounds fair? Sounds good? All right. Now, some of you are already starting your journey. Some of you are working in the hospital, some of you are bankers, and your goal is to get a six-figure role as a project manager. How do we get there? Our course, our Agile Project Management course that runs for 11 weeks, our Tech Career Accelerator, where you build a project in a cross-functional team that runs for 9 weeks, and then our one-on-one career coaching, where we pair you with a one-on-one career coach, and they'll work with you to optimize your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and practice for those interviews with a role play style. Now, before we get to the last part of it, any questions? Any questions regarding our program, our process? Any questions if you're a first timer, if it's your first time engaging with our brand, do you have any questions based on what I've said so far? You can put that in the chat or you can raise your hand. If you need a second to think about it, that's fine as well. We have Efe, who's joining us for the first time. Oluwaseun, who's joining us for the first time. Leslie. Any questions from those who are with us for the first time? All right, sounds good. Now, if you are just like Jerome, looking to take that first step of improving yourself, for those of you who want to become project managers, this is a great time. Why? Because companies are navigating the shift to AI-driven work, and there are many opportunities to drive AI project implementation today. So this is the best time to upskill. Well, one, if you want to be competitive, you have no choice, right? I was talking to someone the other day, and they've been working in a particular industry for the last 10 years, and their income has been pretty much the same thing. And the inflation has gone through the roof. So there's not a lot of options. If you want to stay competitive where you're able to, if not beat, but match the inflation, you need to continue to grow and you need to get into a career where there's no ceiling. Like Jerome was saying, you can become a junior project manager, a senior project manager, director of project, a program manager. You can earn as up to 300K, all the way to 700K as a project manager. And that is an industry that you want to be in, not an industry that caps you at 60K, right? So this is the best time to upskill. And the reward significantly outweighs the effort, right? The reward significantly outweighs the effort. Once you get that first job, say, hey, we want to let you know, Serena, that we're accepting you to become a senior project manager earning 150K, 175K. Think about how that's going to make an impact, not just to yourself, but your family as well. Now, with SkillHat, you get to land a job as a project manager in the next 3 to 6 months. Like Jerome was saying, there was a lady who was taking the program right now, and she already had an interview that she had to prepare for, even before she took the PMP exam, even before she took our SkillHat exam. And that's a testimony to the work that we do here at SkillHat. So if you want to take that step, you get the chance to enroll now. If you want to join our boot camp, an accelerator, a one-on-one coaching, there is an opportunity for you to enroll. And this is our guarantee. This is our offer. If you don't land a job, you get your money back, or we'll keep supporting you with coaching sessions weekly until you get a job. I'll repeat, if you don't land a job after taking SkillHat, you get your money back, or we'll keep supporting you with coaching sessions weekly until you do. So this is 100% in your favor, right? This is your opportunity to give yourself the opportunity where you can break into an emerging industry and also increase your income. Now, we have 5 webinar discounts available for our cohort that starts this Saturday on August 24th. And if you want to take advantage of these juicy discounts, you would need to speak with one of our learning advisors. I'm going to leave a link in the chat. Okay, someone asks, what is the admission process and how much does it cost? So the admission process is you get the chance to speak to learning advisor just to make sure that it's the right fit for you and we're the right fit for you as well. And they will share with you the details of the admission process. And then the cost for our program, it's anywhere up, it's different for different folks, but you're looking at upwards of $4,000. Got that message from Uche. Ruby said, investing in yourself and your mind is invaluable and a commitment I've never regretted. That's awesome. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to put a link in the chat. Okay, I think someone just did that. Mo just put a link. I'll put a link in the chat for those who are with us for the first time. Put a link in the chat and book a call with one of our learning advisors. Now, when you get on the call, mention to them that you were at the webinar with Jerome and you want access to some of those mouth-watering discounts for our cohort starting this Saturday on the 24th of August. Once you've done that, I just want you to put a chat here, put booked in the chat, a booked call in the chat for those who are with us for the first time. It's a free learning advisory call where you sit down with our learning advisors and they'll recommend, the right role. Maybe project management is the right fit for you, maybe not, right? So once you've done that, just put it in the chat. We see someone here. Just book the call. Nicole's booked the call. Once you've done so, just put in the chat here. And while we're doing so, we also want to hear from one of our students or alumni just to share on their experience so far here at SkillHat. If you want to do so while others are booking a call right now, just raise your hand. Ruby, thanks for sharing as well. Anybody else wants to share the experience with SkillHat? So far, just raise your hand. Patricia. All right, Patricia, go for it.
Hey guys, can you hear me properly?
We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, pardon my voice. I actually have COVID right now, so I'm kind of lost my voice. But I am on the younger side, I will say, graduated actually last year, undergrad, and I was a bit skeptical about joining the course. I was looking to get into project management, have no technical experience at all. I actually studied music, so I was quite afraid to join, and also like the financial investment, is it going to be worth it? But like, first of all, the coaching call is really helpful. Like they said, they want to make sure that not only are you a right fit for them, like am I a right fit for SkillHat, but is SkillHat a right fit for me as well? So it's not like they're here trying to scam you away from your money or anything like that. And I actually even learned a lot even on my the call that I booked with the learning advisor. Faith, shout out to Faith. But yeah, Jerome is great. I took the SkillHat course. Jerome, Mo, and Shams, our new instructor. Like someone said earlier, very, very wanting, they're like very eager to help teach us about the practical things that we learn in the industry. And like I have lots of software developer friends, lots of them. And I'm like speaking the knowledge, and they're like, yeah. And like I feel so proud, like, yeah, like I'm communicating things that make sense and I have no experience in tech. Like made me feel really good too. So if you're trying to transition, I would recommend SkillHat. That's all.
All right. Thank you so much, Patricia, for sharing. That was awesome. That was awesome. Was that Patricia, by the way? Because I'm
Yes, this Patricia.
Okay. All right. Got it. Thank you so much for sharing, Patricia. Let's book a call. Once you've done so, for those with us for the first time, just put in the chat that you've booked a call, and then we'll give it up for one of our students or alumni to share their experiences, maybe one or two more, and then we'll call it a day. I am tempted to call names, so please forgive me, but I can't help but just Chantal, I'm just gonna call you out for a bit as well. Tell us about your experience so far with SkillHat. Have you started taking any of the classes yet, or What's your experience with the brand so far?
I start on Saturday, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, so far so good. I had a call with, oh, what's his name? Marvin?
Awesome.
Yeah, with Marvin. It was a really good call, and just based off of my experience and my resume, he recommended the project management program. So here I am.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, officially on behalf of SkillHat, I just want to say thank you so much for joining in. I think we have a message, a question by Natasha. What are some of the challenges your students face even after finishing the whole program with searching? And what percent of students land a job between 3 to 6 months? I don't quite have the data on those who land jobs from 3 to 6 months because it changes based on the job market. But what we know for sure is that 80% of our students land jobs. And if you do these two things, I can almost guarantee you for a fact that you land a job. Number one, time. If you dedicate time, and this is emotional time, right? You be suppressed. Someone said I got two job offers within 2 months. That's amazing. That's manka. That's awesome, right? But emotional time, once you have the time to commit to learning, well, sometimes what we see in the past is some people come in and they just don't have the time for it, right? So if you don't have the time for it, it's not going to work. Doesn't matter if we give you the best gym, the best gym instructor, the best equipment. If you don't show up to the gym, it's not going to have an effect on your life. It's the same thing with SkillHat. So if you, one, can show up, if you create a time for it, then you'll be very successful. The second thing is focus, right? Tech is so big and there are a million and one things to do. And sometimes people get so distracted. They start off as project managers, and today someone tells them about crypto. They're like, hey, I want to do crypto. And tomorrow someone tells them about, data, and they want to do data. And they're doing a lot of things at the same time. But that's not going to help you get your first job. For you to get your first job in tech, you need to put all eggs in one basket. You want to be focused. So for the next 2 to 6 months while you're taking the program, after you're done taking the program, just focus on one. If you do these two things, I can guarantee you that you will be very successful. Not only would you get a job, but you will get a good offer if you do these two things. Create time, emotional time for it, and then just focus on it. Forget all the noise. If someone says, hey, I know someone who made $3 billion by doing crypto, you say, hey, that's great. Let me get my project management job first. Say, hey, I know someone that's doing, machine learning. So that's awesome. But I'm on this journey. If you give it the time and the focus required, then nothing stops you from being successful. And shout out to Manka. Congratulations on the job offers. Well, we're going to wrap it up here today. Thank you so much for your time. And for those who are first timers and they want to speak to Learning Advisor, make sure you book a call. And before I let you go, we also have opportunities for you to refer a friend. For every friend that you refer to speak to Learning Advisor, and they do go ahead to go with the program, you would get $100 for yourself, and also your friend will get, I believe, about $50 off our program. So if you have any friends that you're thinking that you want to take the class with, maybe Chantal, you have a girlfriend who's like, hey, she's been looking to change her career path. This is a great opportunity to get them on board. You can go to our website to refer a friend. Let me just grab the link. More if you can help me. The link, refer a friend. The link is in the chat. So just click on that link and refer a friend, and then you stand a chance to get $100 for every friend that comes into our program. Guys, it was wonderful. If you had a great time today, just put in the chat, I learned something, I had a great time. Just put in your chat, what are the top 3 things you took away today?